Well, good morning, NEEP. No. That's not good enough for this. Good morning, NEEP. Fabulous morning. I'm going to start off today not with a talk. I am going to start off today not with an observation or an opinion. I'm going to start off today with a note of congratulations. So congratulations to each and every one of you in this room. You are attending today the most dramatically entitled conference in the history of the energy efficiency world. Just read this to yourself. No, let's read it aloud together. The low carbon future, scaling up energy efficiency in a brave, new, dynamic world. It begs for those kind of pauses, the dramatic pauses that William Shatner made famous, doesn't it? You could see, for the young people in the room, the students, William Shatner, before he was the weird guy in those bizarre hotel commercials, he was Captain Kirk and Pretty Cool. And before he was Captain Kirk and Pretty Cool, he was, in the days of black and white television, a featured player on the old Twilight Zone episodes. And for those of us who watch the Twilight, I know Tim has, for those of us who watch Twilight Zone, the absolute epitome of a William Shatner performance was the one where he was the guy on the airplane and he looks out on the wing. And he says, "There's something on the wing. There's something on the wing. On the wing there is something." Well, I feel a bit like William Shatner today because, as Sue pointed out, I took the red eye out here, and not wanting to see a movie on an 8-inch screen that I wouldn't have paid $8 for to see on a big screen in a cinematic presentation, I took a little nap on the plane. And when I awakened, I was here in beautiful Rhode Island, but I noticed that something has changed. Something has changed. And it occurs to me that something that has changed is right here in the room with each and every one of us. It's sitting right beside you. Look around. Look to your right. Don't not look to your right. Look to your left. Because that thing that has changed is tremendously profound. That thing that has changed is creating for each and every one of us in this room both an opportunity and quite frankly, a threat. So let's explore that together. And I'm going to explore it with you by looking at this room as 3 separate groups of people. We're going to start on the shop floor. That's the efficiency practitioners in the room, the people who make their living day by day doing the good work of energy efficiency. We're going to go from the shop floor to the top floor, where just as I see at this table, leaders in the utility space are looking around and trying to figure out what has happened to the industry of the last 100 years that is changing things in ways that are dramatic, profound, and coming quicker at you than you can possibly imagine. And then from there, we started at the shop floor, we'll go to the top floor. We can only look to the heavens above. And of course, when I say the heavens above, I mean our regulators and policymakers in the room, because their world is changing too in ways that are incredible. So you want to take that journey with me? Are we going to do this together? Okay. So let's start off at the shop floor. Not to make this a pity party, but let's whine a little bit. We who have been doing energy efficiency, you should be saying, who have been making it the tremendous success, who have created the thing where there's more demand than we can actually keep up with. This is not an easy job. Come on, is it easy? No, this is not an easy job. We have worked our tails off to get where we are today, and then, Sue, you say we need to scale up even more. Let us understand what the people on the shop floor are up against. Cost effectiveness constraints. Baselines are going up, which is necessarily a good thing, but the attribution that these utility practitioners of efficiency programs are getting harder and harder and harder to achieve. Hitting the numbers is no easy feat, and yet we say we will and must necessarily raise the level of energy efficiency we do. This is not an easy feat. But if we're going to whine a little bit, let's look at what's going on at the top floor in the industry that has funded most of the efficiency that this country has done. At utility C-suites all across the country right now, there is a blinding glimpse of the obvious economics that are changing in ways that are incredibly profound, that cannot go back. What they are seeing in the C-suites at utilities, and as Sue pointed out, I started off at Southern California Edison, one of the nation's largest utilities, working both on demand-side management strategy, but also on our utility of the future work, et cetera. I moved to ICF International because what I saw was the opportunity here in this changing environment for us to be part of something that is going to be amazingly great by doing it together. And what we see at the C-suite is this. If you look out, you come to my house in Southern California, you see a fairly efficient structure in a reasonably sized home with solar on the rooftop and an annual energy bill that's actually a credit. And the scary thing is, if you're the CFO of a utility, that's no longer a bizarre anomaly of Ed Begley Jr. and Gene Rodrigues. It's something that's becoming readily available. The technologies of today, in fact, the march of engineering is always to drive cost out and increase productivity. So why would we be surprised that when you look at production capability out of solar panels, that it's reaching cost parity with the marginal rates at a utility? And that doesn't go away. Once it gets there, it starts to erode more and more and more of the traditional model under which the utilities have been regulated, thrived, and survived for the last 100 years. So if all of that's going on, what the heck must be going on at our friends in the regulatory, policymaker, and administrative agencies? They're looking at a world as we speak now in which they're being dragged into a new way of looking at things. Now, I will say right now, in fact, let's say it together, hallelujah for 111D. But if you, yeah, come on, let's give that a hand. But if you have been an economic regulator over all the years, what it really does to you is throw away the basic tenets of regulation. Because now, economic regulators and environmental regulators must necessarily find a way to work together to achieve the massive scale of efficiency that this country needs, that this planet needs. Let's be honest. To fulfill not just a regulatory obligation, but a moral obligation. So this being the case, and all this change happening to us, what does that mean for us? Well, I think it means some pretty cool stuff. And I'll take a look a little bit at some of the themes that we talked about. I started off talking a little bit, scaling up efficiency is hard. Certainly it's hard, but lace up those boots, private, because we got a war to win. We can and we will do more efficiency. We can and will do more efficiency. But let me suggest this, that the success of our past is not the roadmap for our future. We are maximizing the take from traditional approaches to energy efficiency that we can possibly get. And let us be absolutely clear, as we heard earlier today, this is not just, well, just throw more money at it. We'll increase incentives and we'll just buy more of the darn stuff. We in this room strike that. Each and every individual one of us in this room has a responsibility to start thinking about the next generation of efficiency approaches, the next generation of efficiency programs, the better way that drives cost out of the procurement of efficiency so that we can be successful in how we go about procuring and achieving this goal of scaling up efficiency. One of the other things we're talking about today is the changing business model and the modern grid together. I'm going to collapse those things together. What I would offer to you for all of you who are sitting here looking at this table of luminaries here, business leaders, utility leaders, is what they are grappling with is not just what some of us would blithely say, oh, well, they just need to change the business model for the utility industry. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. That is not the mechanism of business. What we need to figure out, no, strike that. What each and every one of us has an obligation to figure out and be part of the solution for advocating is if we want and need to continue to succeed in the ways that we have in efficiency, using the utilities as agents of change, then we must necessarily find ways to partner with utility leadership to find that new business model that keeps them not just afloat, but keeps them financially stable and healthy so they can continue to do the good work in investing in efficiency that the natural market doesn't otherwise invest in. This means that instead of trying to fight off technology, instead of trying to find ways to keep Gene Rodrigues from putting yet another bank of solar on his roof, what we need to do is find ways to make that a financially healthy business model for the utilities. That won't be easy, but it is absolutely doable. Because in the end, and I apologize for this little bit, and with great apologies to my friends at the utility leadership table, I will tell you that the thing that makes that table tremendously important is not the fabulous Mike McAteer who's sitting there. It's the fact that the utilities can do what no one else can do. They can in a way that survives political winds, that survives pushback. They can amass large amounts of capital and put it to productive use in greening the energy-consuming infrastructure of our neighborhoods, our cities, our states, our regions, and our country. Let us all agree that to solve the problems that we're looking at, we must find a way to do it in a way that is economically viable, that can survive, an Indiana-like change in politics, that doesn't require us to every 4 years keep our fingers crossed that the right candidate wins. We can do this at the local level using the machinery that's got us to this point today. And we can only do this, I would argue, if we do it together. Then beyond that, one of the other themes, energy reliability and resilience, and the marriage of environmental issues that our policymakers and regulators have to work on. I want to just suggest one more thing. Let us quit celebrating the fact that the draft rule has been propounded and that in some period of time there will be a series of comments and that we believe it's going to survive judicial challenge and that it will lead to the right kinds of answers. Let us understand, but what this is actually a door opening. It is not EPA coming in to rescue us from ourselves in the way we've always done things. It is an opportunity for us to figure out that there is a greater solution path available to us no matter where we work, in what kind of office or what kind of location, that we in the efficiency community must necessarily change if we want to actually embrace, capture, and exceed the opportunity that's being presented before us. And I think, as with absolutely everything in the world, that comes down to just 3 points. Before I go into what my thoughts are, let's take a half a second. I want you to think about this for just a moment at your table. Don't poll anything. Don't talk to each other. Just think for a second. If you were standing here right now on this stage in these worn-out shoes but matching socks, I did match my socks, what would you say the 3 things we need to do are? What do you think, from your perspective, your expertise, your body of experience. The three things we need to do are. Well, for me, I think it comes down to three things that we could all embrace. First, let us quit talking about NEBs. It is time to embrace the DEBs. For the students who will now later on say NEBs and DEBs, what is this crazy person talking about? NEBs are the non-energy benefits view of what are the co-benefits of energy efficiency. That is so soft, that is so fuzzy, and that is so wrong. What energy efficiency does, when viewed properly, is it creates energy benefits, certainly, but it also creates not non-energy benefits, but direct environmental benefits, but direct economic benefits. This must be the platform of each and every one of us in the room. In the day before, I'm sure you all read the papers as people were awaiting the release of the draft rule 111D. And you could see either on CNN or whatever channel you happen to watch, people standing on the stage and say, well, it's going to make electricity more expensive if you can get it. That is such nonsense. That is absolutely such nonsense. Energy efficiency, what we have known in the energy space and what we must start being necessarily loud about now, starting today, starting right now, is that it is not just a least cost energy resource. It is in an era that when and if the rules are both promulgated, adopted, and then industry itself has to live up to it, the lowest cost compliance option available to each and every state of the United States. So if you are going to pay and you refuse to embrace energy efficiency as the cornerstone of your compliance strategy for 111D, you are throwing away the money of your constituents, your residents, and your businesses. Energy efficiency, my friends, has direct economic benefits. I know I have friends here from NRDC. They went on the offensive early, and I say bravo to that. They used analysis. Quite frankly, they asked ICF International, the company I work for, to do some analysis for them of what are the economic benefits of 111D if and when it pops out. ICF International is made up of people like me and Matt sitting there. We are boring people. They're not the people who normally get invited to cocktail parties, so I'm so pleased that you invited us to your croquet fest last night. But we did the math. And what it points out is what everybody should be talking about. Not that, oh, it's an expensive compliance option, or that, well, but you know there are non-energy benefits. But the math points out that in each and every household, or the average household in the United States, consumers are going to save about $100 a year on their energy bills because of increased efficiency. The math points out that when you lump in what businesses will save, we are talking to the tune by the year 2030 of about, what was it, 47? I have to remember, actually not remember, I have to cheat and look for the note. $37 billion in savings in the American economy that will be reinvested in the homes, in the businesses that create those savings. And last but not least, the thing that we will see is that along the way, in the business of installing energy efficiency in our homes, in our businesses, 374, is it 374? Yeah, darn it. 274,000 jobs created right here in our neighborhoods. Good work, greening the infrastructure that consumes energy. This is the true story of direct economic benefits. We in the energy efficiency space need to quit being just energy geeks and look at ourselves for what we are, and that is an army of people driving economic growth, not just in our country, but in our neighborhoods, cities, and in the communities in which we live and work. So number one, let's get rid of NEBs and start talking about DEBs. Thing number two, we've already seen this. In fact, thanks to Sue and her power talk, I can actually shorten this one a little bit. This is a system-wide problem. Can we agree that climate is not about just energy consumption? It's about everything we do and how we do it. It's about not just how we produce energy and how we procure energy, but it's about how we consume it and what we know about it and how we control it. If it is a system-wide problem, my gosh, I'm just exhausted at the fact that we in the energy efficiency space have not done enough yet to start embracing our colleagues in the demand response world, in the energy storage world, in the distributed energy world. Because the system, the network, the grid is necessarily moving away from large central station generation, huge transmission, distribution, and then just a consumer who just, whatever comes out the tap, they take. And it is moving closer and closer and closer to the end user. We, if we want to be part of the solution, we in the efficiency space must recognize that let's quit compartmentalizing ourselves and talking to our utilities or talking to our customers or talking to our planners, talking to our regulators and policymakers as if we are a slice in and of ourselves. For us to be most effective, we need to embrace the fact that efficiency is what makes demand response more reliable. Efficiency is what makes distributed generation more affordable. And efficiency can and should necessarily be the glue that makes a consumer engagement platform for the utility industry something that we can do together. So that is challenge number two. Let's quit looking at ourselves as if we were special and apart and start recognizing that what makes us in the efficiency world special is how we can raise the game of all the other distributed resource options. So no more NEBs, and let's quit thinking we're so gosh darn special. And then the third and last thing is this. Now, I'm struggling with this one because I don't know how to say it in a way that won't cause us to take up arms against some of our friends in the room. But I am going to say this. Now, I'm a cultured man, so I watch public television. And if you've been watching public television as long as I have, you'll remember that one of the true great artists of our generation used to paint the happy little trees and had the greatest fro in the world. Again, young people, Google it. But I am going to say this, and I'm going to pose, not a question, no, I will point an accusing finger at Michael Lee here from DOE, sitting in the corner, trying to figure out how to do a tweet for the very first time in his life. I will say, if we recognize that what we aspire to, that what we must necessarily accomplish is a masterpiece of energy efficiency, something that captures all that the market can provide and delivers even more through good, wise public policy and the hard work of everyone in this room, then we cannot do this in a paint-by-numbers way. You cannot create a masterpiece doing it paint by numbers. What do I mean by that? I'm going to look at the two ends of the efficiency spectrum where the numbers mean everything and suggest to you it's time for a change. First, when we have looked at energy efficiency in the past, we always throw in front of it the little adjective, well, it's cost-effective energy efficiency, which again makes us the most boring people at the cocktail party, but it was an important concept at the time. And that concept was that we were capturing energy efficiency savings at less cost than what the assumed, presumed, and modeled supply-side resource at the margin would be. That we were looking at, again, very narrowly, the cost effectiveness of the energy component of energy efficiency. Well, if we can agree in this room today that what we are facing is not just an energy challenge, not just an industry challenge, and not just an environmental challenge, and I would say a moral obligation to address that, then we must necessarily agree that the notion of cost effectiveness must be blown wide open. That the true value of energy efficiency, the true value of a kilowatt hour saved, when you're looking at the climate perspective, is what is the cost of the otherwise applicable either control technology or other investment that would need to be made to achieve these tremendously high goals. If you start thinking about that, and if we collectively start acting on that, what we will see happen in our planning offices is that instead of looking at the same old way of capturing efficiency, we will collectively start to free ourselves up to look at broader and better ways to more sustainably mine the energy efficiency that is available to us in this country, and do so in a way that also raises the game of non-energy efficiency type technologies, including in fuel substitution, transportation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we start to think about it at that end on the planning horizon, what else needs to change? Well, you're right. On the other end of the spectrum, at the table in which Mike Lee sits, we have to start thinking about measurement and evaluation differently. Now, that is not to say, I am not going to stand here and say, here is the specific protocol for how we do energy efficiency that must be adopted because it's going to free up the world. No, I'm going to leave you with this principle. If we are doing energy efficiency in a way that constrains us, energy efficiency measurement and evaluation, that constrains us from being able to fully embrace, adapt, adopt, and pursue new ways, better ways, more inclusive ways of capturing energy efficiency savings and also creating all the other direct economic and environmental benefits, then shame on us. That is us putting constraints in place that we are creating. I point to Mike Lee because I'm taken, he's a horrible human being, but I'm taken with the goodness of his work, in which through the Uniform Methods Project, he's looking at what are the best approaches to measurement and evaluation around the country and capturing that together and providing those to regulators and other stakeholders so they might learn from the best. But he's also working at DOE, thinking about what is the evaluation methods of the future. Efficiency 2.0. You have to buy him a beer, and he'll tell you more about it because he's sworn to secrecy. But I've noted that over a free beer, he'll tell you anything. That efficiency measurement and evaluation 2.0 actually embraces this notion that let us find a way to no longer constrain ourselves from doing what must be done, but let us necessarily find a way to open the doors so that we can unleash the creativity that resides in this room, so that we can learn from our friends in the DR world and in the solar world, so that we can collectively accomplish the true aim that we should be focused on, which is a reliable energy system that has environmental attributes that are second to none in the world, that allows us to achieve the lofty goals that we set here in the Northeast and across the country, and that does something that has been cried out for many, many years, but we have failed to do so far, that recognizes that each and every one of us in this room is part of the solution path, and those people who don't come to an efficiency conference are part of that solution path too. And so with that, I will thank you for your time. I will ask you to consider seriously, deadly seriously, that this means that when we leave here today, after you hear all the power talks, I want you to go back and question the things we've always done. Because in the end, we all know nothing succeeds like success until it quits working. And then you have catastrophe. Let us not be constrained. Let us not be complacent. Let us instead evolve in a way that keeps efficiency where it needs to be as the number one solution that we have to offer to almost every energy and climate-related problem our country faces. So thank you very much.